Stepmother, stepfather, stepchild. Those words almost always make people wince, probably because these are the first images that come to mind. Fairy tales with the mean stepmother and stepsisters. These are from Cinderella. Television went the other way. In the Brady Bunch, the stepmother and sisters and the stepfather and brothers are perfect. With more and more people remarrying after divorce or death, the number of stepfamilies is increasing. Some experts estimate that close to 1/4 of the American population has some kind of step relationship. Our story begins with the wedding pictures of Rosalie and Paul Volvek, who were married last summer.
And Paul and I walked down to Love is Lovelier the second time around.
When I visited their home in Brooklyn recently, I learned what the second time around meant: an instant stepfamily. Paul's previous marriage ended in divorce, and so did Rosalie's. Paul's 2 daughters live with their mother and visit here on weekends and vacations. Paul is in the ironic position of being a part-time father to his own children and a full-time stepfather to Rosalie's little boy Adam. He assumed that being a stepfather was no different from being a father.
I expected Adam to become a little son, to run right to my side, and I would become his daddy. That may sound unrealistic, but that's what I thought deep down. And Adam did not run right to my side. He would not listen to me, and he would run right to Mommy and say, in effect, I don't have to listen to you, I'm going to my Mommy.
He was very mixed up. He was only, 2.5, 3, and he really didn't know how to handle the situation at all. And he also felt very jealous. He was extremely jealous of Paul, and I think you were very jealous of him.
Absolutely.
The Volveks began to worry that their new marriage might collapse under the weight of a curly-headed 3-year-old. So they began a series of counseling sessions at the Stepfamily Foundation in New York City. It's the only organization we know of devoted solely to the problems of living in step.
Here I'm working and trying to make him just about my son, and he turns around and says, I want my daddy. What am I working so hard for?
Look at that whole business about my son. It's really stepson.
Jeanette Lofas, the founder, and Jane Parsons, the psychiatric social worker, told the Volveks that their problems were not unique, but classic and even predictable in a stepfamily. Just learning that made Paul and Rosalie more comfortable. People who cannot come to the foundation for counseling write for help. Lofas and her colleagues answer hundreds of letters each week from unhappy stepfamilies all over the country. She explained why.
The myth is that a stepfamily will function as though it were a regular family, as though it were a biological family, man, woman, biological child. People remarry, they hope that will happen. It isn't a biological family. It can't function the way a biological family does, and it never will. The children are not yours, and they never will be. People come into this merger with different histories, different ways of doing things, different sets of mores and structures, even different religions, coming from different parts of the country, whole different family systems that they've evolved over the years.
Jeanette Lofas's authority is undeniable. She was a stepchild herself, and today she and her second husband are step-parents to each other's children. Using circles, squares, and connecting lines, she illustrated what makes a stepfamily so complicated.
I mean, there are 11 on this side, and my son has every one of us is remarried. So everybody's got a stepmother, a bio-mother, a stepfather, a bio-father, and some siblings.
Yes, who is that? Who is that?
My daddy.
Your daddy? Which daddy? Huh? What's his name?
Bobby.
He still misses his natural father. Doesn't understand why, but he'll be cranky a few days after not seeing him for a while. And I'll say, what's the matter? And we'll draw out of him, I miss my daddy, Gary. And that hurts to me.
How would you feel if Adam came to you and said, I don't want to see my real daddy anymore?
My honest reaction would be great. It would be better for him in the long run. It would be better for me. However, it's really not fair to his own daddy because I'm in the same situation.
But what about if your ex-wife remarried?
It should only happen.
But how would you feel if there were another man taking care of your two daughters?
It would disturb me tremendously. At one point, she had a boyfriend, which was great. I hope she does get married. Make her happy and make probably almost everyone happy. But I saw this boyfriend walking away with my younger daughter hand in hand. And I don't know if I had rage, but I had tremendous feeling.
Whatever problems Paul Volvac and other stepfathers have, they are not the result of the traditional fairy tales. Stepfathers are rarely, if ever, mentioned in folk literature. Stepmothers are another matter. Almost every society in the history of the world has folk tales about the wicked stepmother.
Why is the stepmother always thought of as cruel?
You know, she was never born with the cruel stepmother on her passport, but I've seen a lot of women remarry and evolve into becoming the cruel stepmother. I think what happens is you love this man and you marry him, and you come on with like trying to be a super stepmother, and you come on with all sorts of gifts and do things and for the kids, and their reaction is, oh no, you're not my mother, I'm not gonna do what you say. And what they're really feeling lots of times is, you're there where my mommy is supposed to be. I really want my mommy and daddy back. I really want the original marriage back.
Stephen Solons may have been wishing that very thing 5 years ago when he moved from his mother's home to the home of his father and his new wife. His natural mother now lives in England. They see each other once or twice a year. Stephen was not the only one who had to get used to a new family. Dina Solons gave up her full-time career to become an instant, full-time parent of someone else's child.
All of a sudden, here's this little fellow, very, very much his own person at age 5, saying, I will not eat, I will not sleep, I will not go to school, I will do nothing. Why did my mommy leave me? What am I doing here?
How did you cope?
Well, I'm happy to say it's nice when you can say that. You know, he was in the habit of having very severe temper tantrums at that time. And you just got to the point of saying, want to have a temper tantrum? Well, you can go up and have them. But if we're going to get along as a family, you're just going to have to stop eventually. They said it was going to be difficult. And boy, it sure is difficult. Not, oh my God, is this difficult? Nobody told me it was going to be so terrible. And not that it was all terrible, even at the beginning. There were lots of good times. And, I'm blessed with a stepchild that I really like as a person. So terrific. I mean, I might not have liked him at all. But I really like him. And his sense of humor is so close to mine that sometimes I think, gee, where did he get that sense of humor? It's almost as if he were mine.
Do you feel like you're Stephen's real mother?
I am his mother. I am raising him. He's not my child on a weekend or a weekday. I'm raising that child. We have custody of that child. God, I'm his mother completely. Except he also has another mother who he's very attached to.
That must be an awful feeling.
Yes, it's terrible. And you grow up with, little maxims like, blood is thicker than water. Will that child always look to me as his mother? When that child is grown, will I mean anything to him? These are in the back of one's head, back of your mind.
It's the existence of children that make a stepfamily in the first place. The third stepfamily we visited lives near the ocean in Bellport, New York, and we spent a lot of time there talking to the kids. Terry and Julie Tuthill are part of this home weekends and vacations. Their father, John Tuthill, was divorced 2 years ago. Last year, he fell in love and remarried.
What was your first reaction?
I was sort of happy for him because he was happy. But I was a little sad, to see my father marrying someone else.
I was just happy for him.
Their father married Jeffrey and Susie Ritholtz's mother, who'd been a widow for 5 years.
I was so happy. I dropped my baseball mitt, and...
And everything, right?
Everything, and I went upstairs. I was so happy.
Was there any part of it that worried you a little bit?
Yeah, I was, see, because I didn't really know John that well. John tries to love my mom and tries to be like the first husband. Like a first husband.
You see, John is her husband. And You see, that's a little bit of an adjustment. Just see this other man who came in and he loves your mother.
Did it bother you a little bit because you may have had
It didn't actually bother me, but I realized it and I said, I didn't expect this. I mean, sure, this guy's going to be your mother's husband, but you don't really expect him to be your mother's husband, you see.
What about you, Sue? When you're talking about John, would you like him to be like a father to you?
Sometimes I'd really like to think of him as my father, but I know I can't because he isn't. So I don't.
What about calling him Dad sometime? Do you think you'll ever get around to that, or you want to?
No. Most of the time I don't want to.
Why?
I don't know. I just think that it would be... My father is dead, and my father, well, I kind of feel that is looking down at me to see what I'm doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And, if he catches me, saying, hey, Dad, he'll say, what?
So you kind of protect that title a little bit.
Yeah, I reserve it in a little safe.
Yeah. What's it like for the two of you, Julie and Terry, to come into this situation?
We're sort of used to changing, going to my father's on the weekend because we've been doing it for the previous 2 years. And now with Susie and Jeffrey around, it feels like we're part of the family, even though I live at my mother's house and we visit here on the weekends.
Do you feel that this does frighten your mother just a little bit, the family setup?
I think it frightens her in some senses, but I'm not all sure because, I don't know what she's feeling or thinking about. But I think, she might be a little worried that they're trying to kick her out of the picture and that we won't love her anymore, but that's not true. But even when we're here, we feel like a real family, and when we go out, we act and feel together, and so we call ourselves a family.
And we call ourselves a step-family, but we're not, when we're all alone, and we just kid around sometimes, and we say what a great family we have, but we're not kidding around.
Mark and I, we had both had unpleasant situations, and we were both very optimistic. We thought, we've really got it made now. We've got two people that really love each other. Two people are going in the same direction. There shouldn't be anything to it.
You expect to have one big happy family. It will be just like the old family, only better. But when it is not, it's very difficult to deal with. And I think it has been for my children.
I really do like him as a stepfather, but as his position in being married to my mother, whereas my father used to be married to my mother, that I don't like.
When Chuck tries to be like my dad, I resent that. And I resent it very strongly. I don't like it when he tries to be my father.
There are a lot of times when I feel my dad belongs here and you don't.
It's painful because you love them very much, and you try to get the whole family together, and it's you realize that you're not winning, you're not doing a good job. Let go of it now. And you really try, and you're trying too hard is really the problem, and you don't see it.
That's pretty good.
They look about right, don't they?
Chuck was really nice to me when they got married. He'd help me. Like if I had a problem or something, he'd fix it.
Not dragging.
He's still like that. He's always trying to help. Sometimes he seems like a father. Sometimes I just can't think of him as a father. I think of him as a real nice, close guy, but not, as my father. I'm glad that I'm related to Chuck. But I don't think, if I had it my way, I don't think I'd have my mom divorcing my dad.
When I first found out that my dad was going to marry Marg, I was just real shocked, because when Marg and Dad were dating, Dad spent a lot of time at Marg's house, and her kids had seen them get to know each other and be affectionate and things like that, which I had not seen at all. I didn't like moving into Marg's house and Marg's children's house. It was like we are visiting the Van Horns and we are long-lost relatives or something that had something in common, but it wasn't our house. And I was told a couple times that it wasn't my house. I didn't really want to be part of another family. I'd been part of a family that I didn't like too well. I didn't desire to start family all over again.
I do remember making a grave error very early in the relationship when Susan said to me that she felt I did not have time enough for her, that I didn't love her as much as I loved my own children. And of course the correct, honest answer to that was I couldn't at that point. But that is not what I told her. I lied to her. I assured her that I did love her every bit as much as I did my own children. And she knew it was a lie.
I felt like she was being nice to me to get my father. I felt like she was trying to fake a relationship that wasn't there. I didn't have a real strong liking towards older women just because I didn't have a real good relationship with my mother, and another mother figure, I didn't want that either. I don't know when that all changed. I think moving into the new house had a lot to do with it, like, okay, a new start, Last summer I decided that I didn't want to go through my entire life not having a family, and I think at that point I decided to make an effort to be part of the family, and I worked on it, and I think other people started responding, and some of them never stopped in the first place. Some people, Marg seemed to work all along. She always kept trying.
So you only had one grade in one class so far?
Yeah.
Did you fail it?
What did you get on it, Sue? I'm not going to tell you.
You don't want to talk about your grade?
We're not going to talk about my grades. No, we're not. Okay. As long as I pass.
My relationship with Sue right now goes up and down a lot because there are times when I really try hard to change my attitude about her, because I know she's really changed a lot, and I think I've changed a lot. I think Sue really thinks of my mom as her mom now. And I feel like she's really invading in my territory because I just want to know that my mother is always my mother. Because we've always been close, and I don't want, it's really selfish. I don't want her to be close with anyone else because it's always just been me and her.
They're filled with resentment, and occasionally they say exactly that they resent the pressures of living in a step-family.
But you didn't really realize that, Mark.
No, we thought it probably would be better if we thought in terms of a new house, but then we discarded that on practical. See, that's one of the awful mistakes we made. We have a number of friends who are really in the same boat, and it's good to get together and talk about those things.
Lynn's children, I think, still feel a great deal of allegiance to their mother, and my children still feel a great allegiance to their father. And yet they dearly love Lenny, and Lynn's children love me. It just kind of fell into place rather naturally.
I did find it a little embarrassing, though, when her ex was there on a very lovely social occasion, and everything was going quite fine, and continued to go quite fine, but her daughters called me Dad in front of their father.
In front of their real father?
Yes.
Wow. Have you ever asked your children whether they feel at this stage that they are happy that you remarried, or whether there are still some resentments about your remarrying?
I've never asked.
I asked the question because, Susan, I knew initially was not happy. She thought she would be happier if we had never married. So that was established 5 years ago. Not until 5 years later, this spring, did I have the nerve to say, do you still feel that way?
How do you feel about Marg now?
Oh, I love her. She's neat. She's a neat lady. I wish I would have known her a long time ago. I wish I would have confided in her a lot sooner. I missed out on that, but I got the rest of my life now to make up for it.